Can Guts defeat the God Hand? Well, I believe the answer may shock you. The answer is yes. But if you want to find out exactly how he can do this, stay tuned to today's video. You are watching DNR Animate Theories, and if you have any video ideas or suggestions, please leave it in comments down below. We'll be happy to make theory videos based on some of your suggestions. So as I stated before, yes, Guts can defeat the God Hand. I truly believe this. But in order for that to happen, several things have to occur, and we're about to get into those discussions. In the latest chapter of Berserk, we saw that Guts bore witness to the end of a foolish king. What is the memory of Skull Knight?
That is correct.
So in the bloodstained memories of Skull Knight prior to death, of his human form at least, we saw many things. But one thing we saw that was critical to the future of the series and the defeat of the God Hand was the original cast of the God Hand members. If you guys notice, every member is unrecognizable except for one, and it's Void. And I believe through the death of Void, or the defeat of Void, you could possibly defeat the God Hand. Now, this is going to seem kooky, but I had to do a lot of research and reread the series a couple times to get to this theory. So just hear it out, and hey, let me know what you think, right? So let's look at everything that's happened thus far. We know that in the original Eclipse, Guts was trying to save Griffith and Casca, but then Griffith got transformed into Femto. Very serious situation, a lot of people getting killed. But anyways, the most important thing is, when Skull Knight broke into the Eclipse, he didn't try to save Guts immediately, he didn't try to save Casca immediately, he went straight after Void. Now this is key. We know that yes, Void and Skull Knight, they have a past, and maybe he was doing that because of the past and everything, but it makes me believe that there's more to that story than meets the eye. And let's look at what we're seeing now, right? We see that there's 4 key members of the God Hand that we don't know about, and Void is in the middle, possibly the creation of Void, right? But what if the God Hand members, at least, are just one step towards doing something else, which is like resetting the world or changing the world into a certain way, right? We know several things in Berserk that, make sense. Like, we know that magic is a problem for God Hand members, so much so that they sent an army to kill one single witch in a forest. We know that the world of man and magic was separated for a time, but now with Griffith's actions, the worlds are united again. So that would mean that in the past, something happened to sever that connection. And now that the connection is there, we know that the God Hand could go into another phase, whatever that may be. But something we don't know is what is the purpose of the God Hand. And yes, people could talk about the idea and evil and everything, but we don't know enough about that. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. More importantly, can Guts kill the God Hand? Yes. I believe if Guts is able to kill Void, he can kill the God Hand. Because based on the history of what we've read in the series, something happened, and the creation of Void led to this whole systemic cycle of causality and pain and suffering. And through his death, I believe we could find true death for the God Hand members. Now, how would something like this happen? Well, in my humble opinion, I believe that several things will have to go down, such as Griffith / Femto will need to be on Guts' side again. And yes, I know you guys are going to say that sounds insane, but hear me out. Guts, as he is right now, he has no chance against the God Hand. He would need the power of a deity or someone on the same level of fighting ability, which would be Griffith. Now, as Griffith is right now, he has ties to the Moonlight Child, or the Demonic Child, or whatever you want to reference him to. But either way, Griffith has some semblance of good and loyalty to Elise Casca. So much so that he was able to save her when rocks were falling and everything in the fight between Guts and Zod. Now, if the whole story is revealed and we see that Griffith, he wants his kingdom, but Void wants another sort of agenda, such as the destruction of the earth, or to absorb everything and live another 200 and odd years. I believe Griffith may feel the need to turn against his other God Hand member and join the rebellion. Another thing that Guts has at his disposal is an army of witches and wizards and creatures of magic. As you all saw, Griffith and his hordes were very afraid of Flora, one witch in a forest. So I'm pretty sure magic has a key part to play in the battles ahead. Another thing we may forget from time to time too is that Guts left some allies in the real world while he's in the elf world, and namely Rickert. Rickert, as we saw, is a master when it comes to technical skill, and realistically Guts and the witches and wizards could be overwhelmed if they're having a final battle against Griffith and his army, especially if they're going against a bunch of apostles and whatnot. But with Rickert's inventions and also with time on his side, because as we know there's going to be a time skip, because in the elf world time moves differently to the human world. So Rickert should be expected to be older by the time Guts and his crew arrive to the new world, real world I should say. And with this being said, Guts should have like a lot of technology and weaponry at his disposal to help him fight off against hordes of enemies. But anyways, back to what needs to happen. I believe that if everyone comes together and they defeat Void, and I believe he's defeatable, this can happen, right? The God Hands could fall and the cycle can end. And one thing I noticed is when Skull Knight attacked Void directly, Void was able to, dodge his sword by creating like a sort of space warping technique, which, allowed the sword to go through and almost attack Skull Knight himself. But Skull Knight was able to block it with his shield. But in there shows that Void may be able to be hurt physically, because if that was not the case, why even try to avoid the sword completely? But again, clearly he's very powerful, and it will take a lot of techniques and finessing. And I believe that's why Skull Knight is going after the Behelots, because in the Behelots, with the sort of actuation, that might be able to warp space and time long enough for Skull Knight to deliver the fatal blow. Either way, the God Hand members, I believe, can be defeated, but it's going to take a group effort, and also Griffith coming to the realization that, hey, he needs to not be such a bonehead and help his friends, especially after everything he's put them through. So that's my theory on this, and I could go more in depth, but this video is ran for quite some time. But you guys tell me what you think and comment down below. Do you guys think the God Hand members can be defeated, and if they can, how can they be defeated? Now, one thing I will say is, like, I'm not going into the situation with the other God Hand members, because honestly, all I see in them are that they're pieces that are being utilized by Void for his next feeding or whatever he uses the God Hand members for. And they, even though they have their own stories and own individualities, I think that their roles are to be sacrificial lambs to Void's end purpose, which may be to be rebirthed as a true god or the destruction of mankind. But again, you guys let me know what you think. Comment down below. As always, like this video and subscribe. Thank you.